We're going to launch the Grasshopper window. And so if you just double click in the command line and type Grasshopper, a window appears. This is your Grasshopper code writing canvas, and you can put some scribble properties to name your code that we're going to start writing. So the first thing we have to do is connect Grasshopper and Rhino. We've already created a solid in Rhino. So in Grasshopper, solids are called B-reps. And so if we double click on the canvas and type B-rep, a component shows up. It's green and it's asking, it says it's empty. It needs to be fed a parameter. So we right click and then we select one B-rep. And then we go into Rhino and select our B-rep there. And then it's connected now to Grasshopper. We're going to create a box around this so that we can cut it up in the X and Y direction for contours. So in Rhino right now, I'm going to turn off, so I'll hide this geometry so you can see what's going on better in Grasshopper. So this is a virtual Grasshopper view right now. We're going to create a box, as I said, so double click, and we're going to create a bounding box. It says bounding box. So content is our B-rep. And then I want the box corners. So box goes to box. And then if you see, once I click on the box corner, it's highlighted these 4 corners. I'm going to locate each of those box corners. So using our sketch tool here, I want to know where exactly A, B, C, D, and E, F, G are. So if I double click and I type in point, and I connect it to corner A, it highlights over here. So I'm going to just take note of that, A. Then if I change the wire to B, it highlights this corner. Okay, then we're going to go C. C is in the back, so I'm going to mark that this is C. This is most likely D. This is most likely E. This is most likely F. This is most likely G. And this is most likely H. So I'm just going to go through and check. D, that's correct. E, F, G, and H. Okay. So this point was just to help me locate where the points were. I don't actually need it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm also going to turn off the bounding box. So if you right click and you select preview, it'll turn everything off. I'm going to keep that. So now using my A and B and D, I want to create contours in this direction and this direction, starting from point A. So if I want to cut and cut, I'm going to need to cut these distances, so to speak. I want to create contours. So I'm going to double click on the canvas here. Make sure you're in Rhino and type contours from B-rep. So I want 2 contours, X as well as Y. Hold down Shift to add more wires. So that's the shape. Then the point I want to start from is always point A. Shift to add extra wires. And the direction is A to B and A to D. So I need a vector with 2 points. A to B, A to B, B to B. And then vector goes in to direction. Then I want this distance, but I want to divide it into 16 because that's the number of contours I need. So I'm going to type distance from 2 points. Again, A to A, B to B. And then I need to divide it. So I need a division. So 1 is the distance. That's now calculating from all the way A to B, but I want to divide it with something. So I need a number slider. To create an integer number slider, I go 1 dot dot. I'm going to put 30 just in case I want more later. And I'm going to slide it to 16. So I'm dividing A to B, this distance, by 16. And then the result is the distance between my contours. So now you can see it's created a contour in all these directions. These are my X, as I said before. So I just want to organize everything right now. It's a little bit too high. So left click and drag over everything. And I'm going to organize. This will be my right click and then group it. And I'm going to right click and then type X contours or X sections, however you want to name it. And now I'm going to create contours in the opposite direction. So once again, I need a direction. So I need a vector again, vector from 2 points. This time I want to go from A to D. So A goes to A, but this time I want to connect D to B. And then vector is the direction. Then I want to divide A to D. So again, distance from 2 points. Distance from 2 points. This one. A goes to A once again, but this time we're going to go D to point B. And then I need to divide it because it's the full length right now. So the distance divided by number slider, 1 dot dot 30 for a number slider of integers. And I want to slide it to 18 because I want 18 divisions, and the result goes into distance. And then I'm going to group this to make right click, group. And then I'm going to name this Y contours. Now you can see my contour in both directions. I'm going to turn off the box corners because I sketched it down here, so I don't need to know that anymore. And I'm also going to turn off the B-reps so you can see the 2 wireframe curves of the contours in the X and Y direction here. If you can see here, I'm going to zoom in. It started a contour and it started at the very edge, but then it's open on this side. So it's closed on this side at the very edge, but then there's missing one there. I want it to be the same on both sides. So if you want it to be closed, you can either you can shift the origin point, or you can delete this edge. So if you look at the original image photos, they're open at the edge here. So let's open it at the edge. To open it at the edge, we should type call index, and that will just delete one of them. Yep. So this is call index, and then we're going to type this, all that there, and I want to delete it in both directions. So let's call index for both. And the indices, I want to input, I'm going to type panel just so I can see it, is, I believe, the first one. First one is 0. So I'm going to make that as small as possible. Otherwise, it's just too big. The first one is 0. So in computer language, it always starts 0, then 1, 2. And then you should have noticed that it deleted the first one of this series. So if it didn't do that, then it's not grouping these. So this contour right now might be all individual. If I attach a panel, I can see what's going on. So I will attach a panel here. So it says, if you read this panel, it says closed curve 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1. So it's grouping, it's creating one curve for each, but it's not one group. I wanted to group all the X together and delete the very first one. So I have to flatten. If I type this output modifier, select this output modifier, it will group all of the curves, and then I can delete the first one. So I have to type flatten. And if I do that, you'll see it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it gives me, it should give me the number of curves in that direction. And then one more time, I'm going to do the same thing for the opposite direction, flatten. So it's going to call that. Now, if you can see, it hasn't selected that end, right? It's deleted the very first one from the list. So let me select the other one. It's deleted because it's red, so it's not highlighted. It's deleted this one. It didn't delete this one though. So if I type panel and I connect this, if I look here, I created 18 sections, but I think there's other pieces. So I'm going to try to call one more time to delete this one. So I'm going to add one more call to delete the first one on that. So I think it's creating sections this way. And then there are pieces of sections on the bottom. So I'm going to call again. So list goes to list, index goes to index. Yeah, so now it's deleted the first one on top and the first one on the bottom. I'm gonna move that out of the way. And then I'm gonna group this here, Control to deselect. And then I'm gonna group this. And then I'm going to name this omit first contour. So if these groups are the same color, right click, and I want to change the color slightly. So I can highlight it so it's a different group. Here we go. So I'm going to turn off these contours now. And then now you can see when I turn off all of these. I don't know if it will give me the result I want. So I'm going to turn off those, and then doesn't seem to turn off that, but that's okay. From these two contours, I want to create the intersection point. So the way I can do that is I'm gonna type boundary surfaces. So lift edges to edges, and then you can see here that it's created a surface from those curves. So copy, I can paste that. And then now I've created surfaces from everything but the first section, because I want it to be open. Okay. And now I want to find the intersection between those. So I'm going to type B-rep to B-rep intersection. And A goes to this and B goes to that. So if you zoom in here, you can see that it found the intersection, and there's a green line showing the intersection of X and Y surfaces, but not all. So if we connected a panel right now to see what's going on, and we expand that panel, we would see that there is a line and a curve, and it's not very organized. So we need to apply an input modifier, which in this case, we're going to graft, which means to create separate trees of information. And then we're going to, that means it's going to create all separate surfaces, and then we're going to graph this one to make it individual again. Oops, flatten. We're going to flatten this one. So by grafting one and flattening the other, it will create all of these intersections in the X and Y direction. Let me move that out of the way there. From this, series of curves of intersections, we want to divide this into two pieces, 1, 2. So the top part is for the top part of the joint, and the bottom part is for the bottom part of the joint. So this curve we need to divide into 2. So we're going to type divide curve. So curve goes into curve, and the count, it'll default into what looks like 10. We only want 2. So if I do a number slider, I'm just going to go 1 to 5. I only need 2. So the moment I connect it, that's 1, but we need more. So let's slide it over. And then you'll see it update to 2 here. So I want to be able to control from here to here and from here to here. So output is a bunch of points. I want to know what those points are. I want to control those points. So I'm going to type list point, list item. Yeah, let's go list item 1 by 1. We could do a point list as well, but this doesn't generate anything, I think. Yeah. So it says, if you can see right now, if I zoom in a little bit more, actually the size is too small. So let me get a number slider for you, and then I can increase the size of the font. That's too big. It's a 0, 1, and 2. If you want to create integers, not integers, but decimals, you can go double click and go 1, less than, and then 0, less than, and then maybe 2. And then it'll help you control you can use decimal places, and then it'll help you control the size. So it's listing right now 0, 1, 2. This, if you can see it as a tearaway mark, it just displays information, but you can't output anymore from this component. So I want to actually control each of those points. So I'm going to do list item. Okay. So I want 3 for 0, 1, and 2. So connect. And then if I select this one, it's 0. If I select this one, it's still 0. If I select this one, it's still 0. So I want to make this one 0, this one 1, and then this one 2. There's many ways to do this, but to show you what's in it, I'm going to type panel. You can also use integer, or you can also directly integer. You can also right click and directly type set integer here. I'm going to use panel because I can see what each input is. So that's 0, very big panel. So I'm going to reduce the size of the panel. And I'm going to make 0, 1, and 2. Index. So this is 0. If I put in that one, now it's 1. And then index, now it's 2. So I'm just going to move that so you can see it better. Okay.